When it comes to the craziest and wildest games I've ever played, No More Heroes 1 would have to be up there. Being a Suda51 game, the plot is less than comprehensible to put things nicely, so I'll just sum it up as Travis really wants to get laid. Either way, this is one of the most unforgettable video game experiences you could ever have, with some interesting levels, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse, memorable boss fights, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse, and a lot of mini-games, all with the goal of achieving the dream of fuck bitches, get money. And for some unknown reason, whenever you start a new game, subtitles turn themselves off, so the opening movie is pretty hard to hear what they're saying unless you have the volume turned up properly. Anyways, get ready for one of the wildest video games to come out of the Wii era. However, for this video, I will be playing the HD remaster on the Nintendo Switch. Why on Nintendo Switch and not on PC? Well, first off, the Switch version is the version I own, plain and simple. But also, there's another reason that I'll explain and discuss after we get done with our first boss fight about why I'm not touching the PC version for this playthrough.
How about getting rid of the 10 killers above you and aim for the top?
I want to be number 1. How's that? Short and simple enough for you? It's gonna be a long, hard road. But who knows? Could kick ass. Could be dangerous. Could totally suck. What do you say, bro? Join me. Let's see how far we can take this. And for you there holding the controller right now, just press the A button. Let the bloodshed begin.
After the introduction is over, we make our way to the first major level of the game, and you'll be given the option to start a tutorial. And honestly, I can say it's actually a pretty good tutorial for teaching you the basics, as well as maybe a few extra techniques you can feel free to experiment with. Plus, you can choose to end the tutorial basically whenever you wish, which is nice on the developer's part. Travis's combat is mostly just using his beam katana to perform high and low attacks, so you want to do that to get around enemies' guards, but he can also throw in some punches or kicks to try and stagger them, leaving them open for a grapple, which does a lot of damage to enemies and bosses. Quick-time events will be seen quite often in this game, being used mainly for your finishers on most enemies, and a way to break enemy guards. Overall, it's fun, and it's addictive while being an admittedly pretty simple combat loop, at least for now. But after all the tutorial stuff is done, it's time to go through the level, and visually it's really cool, in my opinion, being this giant mansion, and it provides some decent visual variety, though admittedly there's not much else to it, as it's your tutorial level, so you're more or less just going to be going from fight to fight in the different arenas, sort of like how it was in the last game I covered, Sakura Samurai. That's not necessarily a bad thing, however. Again, this is the tutorial level, so you do want to keep things fairly simple, and while a bit clunky due to the game's age, the combat is a ton of fun and satisfying to shred through enemies. Now, one thing that might be a turn-off for players is that basically every enemy is more or less the same in this game, being a human opponent with a weapon in their hand, and you won't be fighting any nightmare creatures or aliens in this game here. Nothing crazy like that, it's the same sort of enemy type. That being said, there's 3 major versions of this humanoid enemy type to keep in mind. You have your basic melee foes, which either use knuckles or some basic melee weapon to hit you with, and they are your fodder enemies intended for you to tear through. They may get reskinned weapons with slightly different properties, but the path to victory on them remains the same of bursting them down. Then there's your enemies with guns, which are standard range foes, being low health and high annoyance. And lastly, you have your beam katana wielders sporting much higher HP, and usually a bit more involved movesets. These guys are kind of your elite enemies, if there is such an elite enemy in this game. But they're the ones you want to prioritize taking out if you can. Something else to keep in mind is that when you kill enemies, sometimes you'll get a slot reel going, and if you manage to win that slot reel, you'll get a temporary power boost of some kind. I would say that the most useful ones are probably the 777 because it gets you more money once you complete the level, and you're going to need money in this game. And then there's the cherries, which can also be pretty good as they increase your max speed. Unfortunately, most of the others only really have the bonus of helping you kill enemies better, and if you're out of enemies to fight when you get that power up, well, tough luck. Near the end of every level, you'll get a call from Sylvia where she'll tell you you're about to get your shit rocked and maybe a little bit of advice about the boss. And this is also where I realized I forgot to turn on subtitles. Whoops. Anyways, right before the boss arena, you'll usually find an item to fully charge your katana's battery, a full heal, and a save spot. You'll also usually find some other sort of power up for Travis, like a wrestling mask teaching him more grappling moves, or maybe something else. This is kind of the formula you'll see throughout the game in general. It's kill enemies, proceed through the level, kill more enemies, get a call from Sylvia, save your game, and fight the boss. I'd say overall the levels aren't bad in No More Heroes 1, but more often than not, I consider them to be the weakest part of the game for me because they're kind of samey until the game's second half, where it feels like they kind of overcorrect on gimmicks, but I'll get into more details on that when we get further in the game. I think that this is a good opening level, and I do think that the next two levels are also pretty good, but then after that it gets a bit weird. Now, here we are at the first boss of the game, a man known by the nickname of Death Metal. He's quite the opponent to take on, if I'm being completely honest. I'm no story analyst, but from the short conversation we can tell he's grown weary from all the fighting and wishes to simply enjoy the view, but with Travis being a total shithead, he realizes a fight is gonna have to happen. But I do really like the last part of the scene, and yeah, I think it's a really cool cutscene that kind of lets you know this game's gonna be a little bit interesting. I'll let it play out.
Listen well, young one. The wall is high, higher than you will ever know. Ultimate sacrifice is sublime. Now draw.
You can take that to your grave.
Death Metal is very much your basic 1v1 opponent with his slashing attacks and swapping between high and low guard, but basically he's able to be hit at pretty much all times, and you're going to hear Travis's narration as the fight goes on, getting a bit of a clue into his inner psyche. It's kind of strange though how this is basically the only boss in the game that has this sort of dialogue, but I suppose it makes it stand out all the more. There's not much else to this fight that I haven't already said, but if you've seen my top 15 first bosses video, then you'd know I actually do quite like this fight, and Travis says can't find the exit so many times that you'd think the game glitches out. And you know what? Speaking of glitches, after you kill the boss, the cutscene will break. And this is kind of the reason why I decided not to even bother with the PC port, because no matter what you do, whether you watch the scene out in full or skip through everything, the game will consistently freeze and crash during the results screen, so you're never able to play past this point. And I mention this because one of my friends got this game on PC recently and he was stuck here for days on end. However, I was able to find and figure out a hotfix for him when we were kind of in a Discord call. Basically, to fix it, here's what you want to do. You want to go on Steam, make sure you right click on the game, scroll down to properties, select the betas tab, then in betas go ahead and swap over to the 2021 version of the PC port. From what I can tell, this seems to be an issue with after the update designed it to work with Windows 11, but it didn't, and instead the game now consistently breaks at the first boss fight. Plus, I've also heard people say that the game actually runs better if you swap it over to the old version, so there's that. That being said, it did come with another glitch involved, where his money was now maxed out, so basically the game turned into No More Heroes 2. Though, personally, I'm just going to write this down as God taking pity on him. Nick, if you're watching this, I hope you enjoy the rest of the game. Welcome to Travis's apartment. Here, there's not much you can really do right now. You can either change your outfits or spend time with your pet cat Jean, but if you want to get anywhere, we're going to have to head out into the real world. Scary, I know. Heading outside, we'll get our objective from Sylvia, and we'll learn kind of the final part of this game's main gameplay loop. You're going to need to play through a level, fight a boss, then you get to run around Santa Destroy, acting as your hub world, doing odd jobs and other ways to earn money, and we ultimately have to earn enough money to pay for the next match. Repeat until the game is completed. And our target will be a man known as Dr. Peace. We can run around Santa Destroy, but in short, we're going to need to make money, and while you can find a little bit here and there lying around on the streets, that's not going to cut it. In other words,
Bitch, get a fucking job!
you can wander around all you want, but if you really want to make progress, you gotta head down to the part-time jobs office where we'll receive our first job as a coconut collector. So, the way part-time jobs work are, after you accept them, you'll be given a designated location that you need to head to, and that's where the job will take place. And if you fail it, you can just restart it from there, but once you pass it, no matter how good or bad you did passing it, if you want to do it again, you'll have to come back to the job office. So try to do well on it if you can. Running around the world, you'll also notice that the man who's actually hosting the jobs that you apply for is the same guy at the main job office. It's like a bad Disney Channel episode or something. Anyways, it's time to collect some coconuts, and what you do is simply run around and punch the trees, then you can pick up whatever coconuts fall on the ground. Travis can carry up to 3 if you wish, but I'd recommend just grabbing whatever falls out of the tree and moving on. Once you have those coconuts, you need to head back to the vendor to turn them in. And here, the coconuts can technically fall over, but realistically, they won't if you mash the button, like, at all, so don't worry too much, just press A at a somewhat comfortable rhythm and you should be good to go. Otherwise, you just kind of do this quest until the task runs out, and you can actually see which trees have coconuts if you bother to look up. I did not, so I had some slightly embarrassing moments, and be warned, coconuts can fall on your head to stun Travis, which is a little bit annoying. After you complete a job, you'll be told about some shadier business offers, and this is where you're going to be introduced to the assassination missions. Your assassination missions are quick combat challenges, sometimes with a gimmick thrown in, sometimes you just kill a specific target, and sometimes you kill as many enemies as you can. And our first assassination mission is to kill the CEO of Pizza Hut Incorporated in under a minute to stop them from moving their supply chain into Santa Destroy. I'm sure killing the CEO won't have any major consequences in the future. When exploring around Santa Destroy, you may see these little balls just lying around town. These are known as Lavakov balls, and they're kind of the main collectible of the game. Their purpose right now is unknown, but I'll point out a few of them as we go along, as you will want to get a couple of them for a useful function a bit later on in the game. Though, don't worry about it too much, you'll more than likely find plenty of them just playing the game naturally and going around town. Otherwise, just kind of kill enemies, make money as you need to, and once you have enough money, it's time to head to the bank and make your deposit.
Hey Travis, the next fight has been prepared. Destroy Stadium. Dr. Peace is waiting for you. Hop to it.
As the game showed, once you've paid the money, head back to the apartment and you'll now receive a call from Sylvia telling you what your next task is, and from there you simply drive to the designated location on the map. However, I'm gonna say ignore the objective and drive all the way around the stadium first, because you can actually snag yourself 2 Lavakov balls if you do that, and that's kind of helpful. Okay, now for beginning the level for real.
Listen to my song.
Oh hey, it's the Nitro Rad voice filter. Anyways, I don't really have much to say about this level. It's pretty much a no-nonsense, no major gimmick level, with the most notable change being the enemies are now all baseball themed, which means they have a bit more HP and can theoretically do a bit more damage, or they might just throw baseballs at you, I don't know, they're not that strong. However, there is actually one notable change here in this, and that's exclusive to this one level, and it's kind of, I guess you could consider it the gimmick of this level. This minigame is where, well, enemies will throw baseballs at you and you want to hit them back. The better you hit them, the more enemies you kill, giving you a bit of extra cash, and any enemies left over you simply have to fight. They'll throw the baseball 3 times, so you hit it 3 times and try to kill as many enemies as you can, or you can just do like me and always mulligan at least one of the balls. There's not much else for me to really say on this level. They want to keep things fairly simple here, and they save the crazy stuff for the next level, where stuff gets a lot more weird, shall we say. Unfortunately, I do get a power-up after I killed all the enemies here, so it just ends up going to waste. Fight your way through the enemies and make it to the end of the level to get ready for the next boss fight.
I see no a pretty melody never heard before. No more lullabies. The Virgin just was them.
Thank you. Mighty kind. Mighty kind of you.
Nice set of pipes you got there, old man.
Dr. Peace is our next boss fight, and he's more of a story fight than a major combat fight, as the focus here is more on the weariness of longtime assassins and how, unfortunately, the thrill of killing your opponents can start to wear off after a while.
Unfortunately, the atmosphere was a facade.
Dr. Peace is a very stationary boss, using his guns to fight you, either firing off bullets that you can block, or you can just run to the side to avoid them if we're being honest here. Or he'll get into a quick draw stance to let you know he's about to fire off a charge shot, and this is your first instance of an unblockable attack. Something always telegraphed by a flash and a distinct sound effect coming from the boss. Though, again, I don't think a revolver would really let you do a charge shot, but whatever. He's overall a fine fight, but by far the easiest boss in the game, and it's by a comfortable margin. However, at the end of the fight, there actually will be a standoff, and you will need to be the first to draw, first on the draw to deal a finishing blow against him. Succeed and you instantly win, but fail and it's an instant game over. Thankfully, the timing here is more than a bit generous. It's basically a case of if you fail, it's going to be because you pressed the wrong button. Also, I didn't talk about this during the death metal portion because I wanted to talk about the PC glitch. However, after every boss fight, you'll get yourself an expansion to Travis's maximum HP, and this is going to be very important by in-game when bosses can chunk off a ton of your health very quickly if you mess up. And sometimes you'll get another upgrade depending on which boss you kill. It's kind of a progress-based thing there. After the fight ends, we see that instead of excited, Travis is actually a little bit bummed out at the fight, and this is kind of where his change begins because he doesn't really enjoy killing nearly as much as he thought he would after the high of it has worn off. With Dr. Peace slain, 3 new facilities have opened up in the hub world, so let's talk about them for a bit. First up, and probably most importantly, is Naomi's Lab, which allows you to fully upgrade our weapons and purchase new beam katanas whenever they come in. I recommend checking up on this after each rank because you'll get some handy upgrades and possibly a new weapon to make your beam katana stronger and more energy efficient. It's a good thing to do. And also, this is technically tied to the game's true ending, but really for the true endings, you just get all the weapons and you fully upgrade them. It's not that hard to unlock. Next up is Thunder Ryu's Dojo, where you'll be able to work out and train yourself to become stronger. The most important thing here is the dumbbells, as it'll extend your combos, but there's also a bench press, which slightly increases your strength, and squats, which slightly increase your maximum health. They can be fun little diversions, and the health boost does actually add up over the course of the whole game. The strength boost can also be okay, but I'll admit I hate the button mashing for it, so I just don't bother most of the time. Last and least is Area 51, which really just gives you a way to purchase some more outfits. Not too important if I'm being honest here, but it gives you style points, and there is a lava ball right outside this place, so it is worth picking that up. As for our next job, we need to go and mow the lawn, and yeah, we sure do that. I actually would recommend, if you want to be somewhat efficient, to always, on your way to the job office, stop by the assassination office and pick up the mission to kill the Pizza Butt CEO. Then head over to the job office because the locations are right next to each other, and it gives you a good head start on earning money for something that takes less than a minute to complete. The assassination missions are just gimmick levels, one requiring you to hit baseballs back to kill enemies, which I suck at, while the other one has you using wrestling moves only, which I'm a bit better at. Though, ultimately, I still don't have enough cash after doing those missions, so I just decided to kill the CEO a few times. I'm sure there won't be any negative consequences down the road for that. Our next mission has us heading to school to take on our next assassin, though don't worry, we're not murdering any students, or if we are, maybe it's a good thing we're killing them, considering that these guys immediately rush us with pipes, guns, and electric brass knuckles. Once you make it inside the school, there are enemies here that are actually able to light you on fire with their attacks, which is kind of terrifying, and being on fire will chunk down a ton of your health over time if you're not careful. So make note of where the fire extinguishers are located so you don't end up burning to death. After a little bit of progress into the level, one of the enemies will decide that this is kind of boring and set off the sprinklers, which short circuits your beam katana because you got it off Goodwill. Actually, he wins it in a contest, but that's not really important. This causes Travis to be electrocuted, so now you can't attack, and you basically just have to quickly poop walk past the enemies to shut the sprinkler system off. Don't ask how Travis knows where this is, maybe he went to school here, I'm not sure. Otherwise, yeah, once you shut off the sprinklers, it becomes a standard level again. You just fight off the enemies with their useless torches and way too many fire axes, and then you'll reach the end of the level, but this is a really funny and actually pretty cool little bit of the game, and I'd say overall this is probably one of the better levels in the game. It's got the most variety to it, at least until the final one.
A real gentleman. I just turned my back, but you didn't strike. You are fucking with me!
It's actually pretty hard to take cheap shots when your enemy is as bloodthirsty as yourself.
People like us think alike, don't we?
Shall we?
Huh? You will pay with your life! At last I have my chance. I will now avenge my father!
Something tells me you watch too many samurai movies, little girl.
Sonic sword!
Holy... What the hell was that?
I gotta be honest, I don't like this boss fight very much. Shinobu is the start of bosses becoming a lot more block heavy, and she might be the worst example of it in the entire game, outside of technically one other boss fight. With some really awkward to dodge attacks, her voice can get really annoying, and her damage output is some of the highest in the game, making for an absurd difficulty spike. Some people might like this fight as it's an intense challenge, and she has that, that's for sure. But I find her kind of annoying and her damage output to be way too high, especially on her sword beams and her deadly finisher, which prior to this playthrough I thought was actually a guaranteed insta-kill, because it looks very similar to her other attacks. I know some people that love this boss love her for the challenge she brings, but I wouldn't really say she's hard for the right reasons, and more than likely this is a well-liked fight because Shinobu is one of the main characters in the later games, but here she's only in this one part of the game and appears one more time at the very end. The most notable thing about this fight is Travis actually doesn't kill her because she's a young girl at this point in the series, and we honestly do get one of Travis's best lines in the game, at least in the first game in my opinion.
Kill when you can kill. That's bullshit. All I want to do is fight someone better than me. She'll grow up. Why not kill her when she's stronger? Yeah, then I'll kill her.
You are sick.
So are you.
Now that we can explore again, two places open up. Beefhead Videos, which really is just there for bonus content and I didn't use it, but much more importantly, the bar opens and we can now use our Lava Cov balls to purchase various upgrades. The most important one, and the one you really should get, is Memory of Child, as it provides Travis the ability to dash, which may seem useless at first since you can drive around on your bike, but having the ability to dash will be useful in later parts of the game, as well as a lot of mini games, which means you'll be able to earn more money and, just grind better. The other decent options are Memory of Demon and Memory of White, as they provide extra attacks for Travis, but the rest you can kind of just take or leave personally, though that's just my opinion. You might like it a lot more. Our new job is Garbage Collection, and with the dash ability it actually proves to be quite helpful already at getting things done quickly and earning a bit more cash than we would have otherwise. And, for Garbage Collection you just find the items, pick them up, throw them in the bin. Pretty quick, pretty easy. I like it a fair bit. Though I will say, be careful, you don't want to dash into something at Mach speed because then you'll just send the item flying, and yeah, that doesn't really help you at all. Another thing we can do around town are these challenges known as street fights, where you have to kill all the enemies in a somewhat generous time limit, but you have to do it without getting hit. This can be a lucrative way to earn some quick cash, but at the same time, you can get hit out of nowhere, which can become very annoying and cause you to lose progress. It's okay, I don't really mess around with them too much, but they can be kind of fun challenges, and if you really enjoy this game's combat, you might get a little bit more out of it than I do. The assassin missions aren't really that special, it's basically just kill the enemies again, and this time around they're reusing the boss arena, so I'm like, okay, got it. And then our last notable assassination mission for now is to kill another Pizza Butt CEO, though this time he's packing heat, but it doesn't really matter when his head is severed from his body. I'm sure this won't have any negative impact on us in the future. Now, after you manage to amass all the cash, you'll get called and said, hey, here's your information for the next fight, but then whenever you go to leave, you actually get a letter. This is an interesting one, considering who the mail is sent from, but I'll leave that for a little bit later. Our next level is the first one we take a train to, so we have ourselves a little combat arena on the train where enemies will repeatedly yell, "My spleen!" when killed. These are some basic combat arenas, but they're kinda cool. I have no real complaints with them. Now, we get to the studio and there's honestly nothing for me to say about it. You just run through the same arena a few times and then you reach the boss. It's honestly one of the weakest levels in the game, and as much as I hate to say it, the first 3 levels are probably the most complex until the very final level of the game, as a lot of the remaining levels are either combat arenas, straight lines, or glorified minigames. Yeah, I hate to say it. Now, I guess I should mention, though, the enemies here are kind of weird. They're like these green mutant things. I guess they could technically be people wearing outfits or wearing test dummy stuff, but I kind of doubt that, considering that the game, well, basically artificial humans and homunculi and things like that actually do exist in the world of No More Heroes. It's just not really touched up on too heavily. It's only really in like text that mentions it, so it's probably something like that. Either way, these guys aren't really that hard to deal with, they just look a little bit goofy. Our next boss fight is going to be against a fan favorite character in this series, and one of the most memorable fights in the entire game. I could explain the stuff, but I think the cutscene does a better job just speaking for itself.
Oh man.
I thought I wouldn't make it here on time. Had to take care of some customers that filed complaints. My apologies. So much to do with so little help. Yeah, I can't stand these people with all their nonsense complaints. They think they can just say anything. It's crazy. But anyway, I'm here. I made it on time. That's the important thing, right? I take it you're Mr. 8?
You? You're ranked?
Not me. Well, actually it is me.
Oh, that makes sense.
Never mind then. We've got a job to do. But first I need some time to get ready. Would you mind turning the other way? I need some privacy.
Privacy?
Yes. I need to prepare.
Whatever. Don't mind me. Pretend I'm not even here.
I just need you to look the other way for a second.
A second?
Yes, just a split second. I don't think it's too much to ask. Deal?
Then we can get on with our fight?
That is correct.
All right. Ah! Oh, damn it. Whoa, that was close. For a second there, I forgot that you were a killer.
Sorry if I scared you. I didn't mean to do that. Something's wrong with me today.
I let my guard down. Getting sloppy. I gotta stay on my toes.
You mind if I ask you something?
Yeah, what is it, Mr. Cosplay?
We're both assassins, right? Why do we have to kill each other anyway? If you ask me, it's absolutely meaningless.
It's about determining who's best. That's what it's about.
Can't argue with that. Well then, let's get started.
What? You want to shake hands?
We're both fighters, aren't we? Not killers, at least for now. This is a sign of sportsmanship, that we respect each other before and after the fight. Good luck.
Likewise.
Destroy Spark. Oh, this is great. Is this guy an idiot or what? Is this a joke? You fell for the oldest trick in the book. Oh man, you are something. Oh, this is the best. Man, you really cracked me up. I think this laughter's gonna kill me. Seriously, I think I might really die from laughter. It hurts. Someone help! Oh God! Oh shit! I thought I was gonna die there, for real. And look at you. You look like you're dead. I guess it's time for a wake-up call.
Destroy cow! Destroy team!
This is where it gets good. Good night.
Destroy!
That was quite a move. I'll admit you've got potential. If challenge had a taste, you'd be quite delicious.
Fight for the 7th?
Yeah, sure. Bring it on. I love a challenge.
You're as good as dead.
This is Destroy Man, and I would consider this guy to be kind of the Ridley of the series, or I guess the closest thing Travis has to a semi-consistent rival-ish. Anyways, Destroy Man has a split personality that's shown well in the cutscene, but not so well in gameplay. I do like this fight though. It's goofy but cool, and having Destroy Man dramatically call out every attack as well as having all of his attacks be major attacks makes this fight honestly pretty memorable. On top of that, you saw that he was in the mailman outfit. He's actually the guy who sent you your mail earlier, and he's whenever you get mail in this game, it's from him. Once he loses enough HP though, he's going to enter a second phase, where he'll be suspended into the air, and the cool thing about the remaster is you can actually see the cable on his back to show he's like a stage superhero, so to speak. He'll start spamming Destroy Cannon over and over, so you need him to destroy the panel holding up his cable for phase 2 to begin properly. I'm not sure if it's always the same panel or if it's semi-random. It doesn't make a big difference though. He has all the same moves as before, but now he's also included his ultimate attack, Destroy Buster, aka the crotch laser. It's a weird fight, but a memorable one, and I enjoy it so long as he doesn't get stuck in the environment. And honestly, I think he's got one of the funniest and most memorable deaths in the entire game, so there's always that going for him. And he was never seen again. Alright, by this point you guys definitely know the drill. You do your jobs, you get your money. But I actually have enough money for the next level and the next fight already, so I'm just going to skip to the main events and give a brief overview. We have ourselves a gas station attendant minigame where you fill up cars, and it's kind of a timing minigame with a bit of a delay to it whenever you release the A button, so it takes a bit of getting used to, but once you do, it's a great way to make money, and you can get into a rhythm. Though I kind of sucked at it on this recording, so it didn't do the best here, but still I made a decent chunk of change. Now, as for the assassination missions, well, one of them is whatever, while the other one is a bit unique as you're in a permanent dark side mode, so basically it's just a 2-minute long QTE session with some of the most brutal looking kills in the game, and you know what, it can be kind of fun. I get some enjoyment out of this. It's not perfect though, but it can be cathartic.
So hurry up and go get him!
Yes, Your Highness.
I gotta be honest, I have basically nothing to say about this level. As you can see, it's extremely linear, with you going from arena to arena, and having to kill all the enemies before you can destroy the fences. It's a straight line with a slight obstacle placed in the way. The most notable part is the landmine portion of the level, but you can see their location on the map, so it's not that threatening, to be honest. I don't know, I really have nothing to say about this level. It's not terrible, but it's not that great either. I kind of like the visuals going on, but that's about where my praise starts and ends. The best part, actually no, there is one thing I do like, and the best part of this mission are the mini cutscenes with the landmine portions. Those are actually pretty good. Our next boss fight is against Holly Summers, and her design reminds me of a Metal Gear character if I'm being honest here. But that's not much to go on, and the game starts the fight, but it's a fake out because before the fight truly begins, you're gonna get introduced to the main gimmick of the battle.
Let's see you get out of this predicament.
No prob. You'll see.
Uh-huh. A bud that will never blossom. A sad truth. Good night, my sweet seventh.
Oh, crap! Nice trap. I like your style. Maybe I can steal a kiss before I steal your life.
We'll see about that.
Holly is a hazard boss, and a boss that I respect more than I actually like because you'll be falling into pits constantly. All she really does is try to kill you with explosives like she's a Batum character or something. Anyone else remember that anime? It wasn't very good if I'm being honest. Otherwise, she'll try to bash your head in with her shovel from time to time, or blind you with some sand, but she spends most of the fight keeping her distance and blowing things up. To be honest, the pitfall traps are actually a bit of a blessing in disguise when she gets too explosive happy, because you're invincible against all her attacks when climbing out of the pit. Just make sure you get out before the grenade she throws in there blows up on you. It's a very long fight and can get drawn out if you're not careful, though it's one of those fights that kind of falls into good story boss, not very fun boss to fight, at least for me personally, but I don't think it's bad, and I could see people liking this fight a fair bit more. I'm just not a big fan of hazard bosses in general. I will give praise though for, I think the cutscene that comes after you beat her is one of the better ones in the game, because a lot of this game has some very over-the-top and goofy character deaths, but this is one of the few that the game chooses to play straight, as it's one of the deaths that actually has a serious impact on Travis as a character.
I will let you in on a secret. Assassins must die when they lose. Open your eyes and never look back. Promise, never forget me.
Huh?
Thank you. The moment you hesitated, I felt your embrace.
Hold up!
Academics like to fantasize too, you know.
Wait! Number 6! No! Forgive me, number 6. I never meant to shame you.
For beating Holly, you get the secret military documents, which allow you to get another weapon upgrade, but I won't be bothering with that right now. Though I would recommend new players take it to Dr. Naomi as soon as possible. Anyways, it's time to lay Holly to rest.
Forgive me, Holly. I was late in saying this, but I love your soul. Rest in peace.
Hey, this is Diane from Beefhead Videos. You're late returning one of our videos. It's called, Coffee and MILF. Please return it ASAP. Have a nice day.
Mr. Touchdown, please wire the money as soon as possible. Please hurry, or something unfortunate may happen. In addition, the registration for the 6th UAA rank is complete. We look forward to hearing from you.
At this point, we're now technically about halfway through the game, and we're done unlocking new facilities, but we gotta make some serious money. So I would recommend turning the weapon schematics for future upgrades into Dr. Naomi, and it's time for our next job, which I'm not that looking forward to. I gotta be real with you guys, I'm not a fan of the minesweeping. It kinda sucks. It doesn't pay that well, it's slow, and you can get blown up fairly easily. You only do this side mission one time, and it's to unlock the assassination mission, and then never touch it again. I don't like it, but at the very least the assassination mission you unlock is one of the most important ones in the game. With our minesweeping escapades done, it's time to put down Pizza Butt for good in our last assassination mission involving them. And it's time to just murder them, essentially. Though, to be honest, this one is pretty obnoxious because every enemy has a beam katana, which means increased aggression, increased HP, and they can, survive longer. Kind of annoying, but this is one of the best ways to farm money, and once you get into a bit of a rhythm, you can kind of just start decapitating multiple enemies at once, so it's not as bad, though it can still be obnoxious. That being said, I would kind of recommend nowadays, any chance you can, pick this assassination mission up, run to the job office to get whatever the new job is, and then kill the guy, then start the new job. After you pay off the money and you're ready for your next mission, you head outside and notice there's a lot of bloodstains on the ground, and following them will actually take you to your next major location. We get down into the tunnel, and here we see that, well, if Destroy Man's level was the level designers getting lazy, and Holly's level being them giving up, then this is where the level designer is just actively fucking with you. If you thought the last two levels were linear, this one is literally just a straight line. You run to the end, you kill the enemies as you go, and you keep running. I'd be more annoyed, but the game is actively messing with you here, and the enemies are, well, actually the strongest regular foes in the game, and they look like they're out of Star Wars. Well, because they're active Star Wars parodies. There's not really much for me to say here. You're chasing down a shadowy figure, but that doesn't mean much. So, I don't know. Keep going till you get to the end, I guess. What do you want me to say here? The game didn't put any effort into this level. Why should I put any effort into the script?
At last. Doctor, it's time! Wake up! Oh yeah, I feel a good undulation. Your rumbling is excellent. I think I'm going to lose the bowel control.
And now it's time for our next boss fight against Let's Shake, a giant robot known as Doctor with a brain inside it. So I guess it's kind of like Dr. Wheeler from Dragon Ball Z, or World's Strongest. Meanwhile, Let's Shake sounds more like Klaus from American Dad. So, being this giant mechanical boss, you can imagine Let's Shake is the most complicated fight in the game, using shockwaves and laser blasts on top of being the only foe in the game that isn't even remotely humanoid, and it makes for an interesting fight, and also one of the toughest in the game because it's unlike anything else you're up against. Though, before that, we get this really long and intricate cutscene. Oh, and by the way, everything I just said there was a lie because Henry goes ahead and kills the boss for you. Oh, and Henry is the guy that talks to you over the phone. The game never really mentions it, but it's not exactly a secret, and you piece it together later on in the game after you hear his voice. The Irish accent's kind of a dead giveaway, and so is the Quentin Flynnness of it.
Travis touchdown, is it not?
Well, after Henry went and cockblocked us out of a boss fight, I guess we gotta go grind more cash now since we technically did rank up. But thankfully, you just about break even after the Let's Shake event, so it's not too bad, and I mean, hey, you all know what it means to do whenever it's time to grind some cash. There aren't any major assassination missions worth talking about right now, so I'd say that let's just talk about the one major side mission that we unlock, and that's cleaning off graffiti. It's actually kind of fun with the way it uses the joysticks, or it originally used the motion controls, but it doesn't really pay the best. It's okay though. You'll be running around a lot, so I can highly recommend Memory of Child so you can dash around quickly, but there's not much else for me to really say about it, so I guess we should just get on with the mission. It's kind of weird, but unfortunately the further you get into the game, the less there is to say about what you do in the downtime. You know, do jobs, you kill enemies, you kind of get into a routine. It's like your own daily grind.
Travis, the next rank is 4th.
Who is it? Come to think of it, it doesn't really matter, does it?
I am sending you a ticket for a show. Look nice. Let's go together. Number 4 will be there.
A show? Wait, this is a date, right?
Something like that. Why else would I be getting an oil rub?
What? What did you say? Someone's rubbing you down?
I'll see you later.
Our next fight is going to be a good ways off, so we gotta take a train in order to get there. Sylvia ends up sending us a ticket to see a magic show. So I guess let's go greet our host.
Let's see what you're made of, country boy.
Before we can even think about getting on the train, we've got a bunch of thugs that are filling up the subway station, so we gotta take care of them. Thankfully, they're not too hard by this point in the game, because we actually fought these guys around Destroy Man level. So, you know, just cut them up and kick their ass. Now, thankfully, we don't have a train fight again. Instead, once Travis boards the train, he actually gets really sleepy, so now, say hello to the third of the main level types, the minigame levels. Here we have an arcade-style bullet hell shooter, but it comes with infinite continues, so thankfully, unless you run out of time, you're probably not going to fail this. The controls are fairly basic. You can fire your projectile, you can use your sword to stop enemy projectiles, which sadly the sword doesn't really seem to damage enemies at all, and you have a super attack that I actually completely forgot about when I was recording, so I never used it, and that made things a lot harder. It's honestly a fun enough minigame that makes this level kind of stand out for me, though this is the first of quite a few minigame levels. So it's kind of a for better or for worse. You're going to be playing minigames a lot for the next third of the game. And yeah, it's okay. And at the end of this level, the fight's actually capped off with a mini-boss fight against this giant cross that I absolutely suck at fighting, but thankfully we have unlimited continues, so the only way to lose here is to run out of time, and I'm not about to let that happen. Your special attack would actually help out a lot here, but you know, I kind of forgot it existed. It's not bad, and I think having a sort of mini-boss after a stage that straight up, like, rug pulled you out of a boss fight, essentially, isn't the worst decision, but yeah, I don't really know. I don't have a lot to say about this guy otherwise. He's kind of just the bullet shooter guy, and spoilers, there's basically a bullet hell boss in every single No More Heroes game. This one's the most basic and has the least amount of character, because No More Heroes 2's is so bizarre that you can't forget it, and No More Heroes 3's looks like something out of Platinum Games. That's about all I got for this guy. It's okay. Once you beat the boss, though, the stage will be over, and we actually have to get ready for the big fight with the boss fight himself.
So you came to enjoy the show?
Damn right I did. I was really looking forward to this. It's the last show, right?
Last show? Did I hear you right?
Oh, you heard me right. Harvey, you're gonna die tonight. Right here, by my hand. Let's close the curtains.
I hope you aren't being serious. That would be a pity. We still have the main event to unveil.
Playtime is over.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime! On to the grand finale! Now this is entertainment! It's killing time!
Harvey is your rank 4 boss fight, and honestly, I think he's one of the best bosses in this game. And that's something I will praise the latter half of the game. While the levels get kind of weird, I think the boss fights mostly lock in, with one major exception that we'll be talking about, because oh boy, that fight sucks. Anyways, his battle is easy, but very unique and memorable, as he's a magician with all sorts of tricks up his sleeve, such as sending out doves to attack you, teleporting with a puff of smoke, placing you in a magical trap, replacing your weapon, and inverting your controls. But what makes this boss work so well is that it may not flow at a breakneck pace, but it's just really cool to see all the things he can pull off. And he's also the only boss to dual wield swords, so he can block you if you attack recklessly. But thankfully this isn't like Shinobu, who basically goes Yakuza 3 mode on you. Instead, it's more a case of he blocks you to offset his lower HP, and you need to dodge him to get your shots in, but you can basically dark step everything he does. So it's kind of a little dodge test. Overall, while Harvey is easy, he's still a lot of fun, and in my opinion, one of the best bosses in the game. All capped off with a hilariously over-the-top death scene that feels like something you could see in a splatter movie, like Where's Art the Clown?
It's dark! Somebody turn on the lights! I can't see shit!
Good news is you can't get demonetized if you're not making any money off the video in the first place. Unfortunately, after the game was fun for a good bit, we have to bring everything crashing down during the worst part of the game, in my opinion. But first, I guess we do gotta earn some cash, so you guys know the drill. We also have a new job that has us collecting cats. This one won't make a ton of money, but it's actually kind of fun and relaxing, so I like it well enough overall, and having dash makes it easier without being able to screw yourself over like the trash collecting minigame, or the next minigame that we unlock. Overall, it's fine. I wish you made maybe a little bit more money, but it's okay. Not a big deal. There's also an assassination mission where everything is turned upside down, so you have inverted controls, which is kind of weird but kind of neat, and it does make decent enough money, so yeah, I kind of like it.
Is the big 3.
Where are you now?
Yoga class.
Right. You go ahead and do that.
Thanks. Your next opponent is a witch. She lives in this abandoned place called Speed City.
A witch?
Travis?
Don't die, okay?
In a bit of a twist, Sylvia actually seems to be concerned for our safety this time around, but this next assassin is a ways off in a place known as Speed City, so we're gonna need to take a bus to get there anytime soon. And when we get on the bus, yeah, it's another minigame level. Here you're stuck in a 2D perspective fighting enemies, so here's the weird thing about the levels in No More Heroes 1. Your first 3 levels are actually pretty good levels that have some mechanics that build upon what you've learned, and maybe a little gimmick or two thrown in there for fun. The next 3 levels are kinda shitty linear levels without much to them. Then our last set of 3 levels are basically just glorified minigames, and it's mixed results. I think some of the minigames can be fun, while the others aren't, and this one is super ganky and not enjoyable. That's kind of why I say the levels are the worst part of No More Heroes 1, and thankfully 2 and 3 did better by either putting more spice into the levels or just not bothering and straight up getting to the boss fights if they didn't have an idea for a stage. Because I know one of my friends prefers the game like having stages as opposed to just going right to the boss, but at the same time, if you don't have a good idea, then it's better just to have no idea, at least in my opinion. Yeah, I haven't really talked about it too much, but there's... I hate to say it, the roulette power-ups are kind of worthless in this game half the time because they just get wasted. When you get to Speed City, you'll see Thunder Ryu, the man from the dojo you train at, fighting with the 3rd ranker assassin before he promptly gets killed. Now, as for our boss fight in the 3rd ranker, this mysterious witch known as Speedbuster is an angry grandma with a giant laser cannon shopping cart, and yeah, you've already figured out the gimmick. This is a level boss, and it's not a particularly good one. Okay. Basically, you're running from side path to side path while dodging the occasional Death Star laser, and there's not much else to the fight other than fighting off some enemies, but what's kinda neat is I guess you can push the enemies into the blast to instantly kill them, so there's that, I guess. Oh, and since we're killing enemies, that means we're getting power-ups, and since we're getting power-ups, you know what that means. I don't really have much else to say here, other than I guess the music's pretty good. You're fighting off enemies while trying to reach a boss for a one-hit kill. It's like Ancient Wyvern from Dark Souls 3 all over again, except if Ancient Wyvern took 10 minutes and you don't even really get to deliver the finishing blow, it just fades to black and goes to a cutscene. Yeah, I don't like this boss. It's not good. It's the worst boss in the game. Nobody likes this part of the game. I mean, I'm sure somebody does, but I haven't met him. But for winning, you not only get a health upgrade, but a Japanese-style katana. Take it to Dr. Naomi when you get back to town. Yeah, it'll be important to get the ultimate weapon of the game. The cutscene afterwards adds nothing of value, but thankfully, we're done with the worst part of the game because, barring one specific minigame, I actually have mostly positive stuff to say about the remainder of this game, and the remainder of this adventure, I guess you could say. Though there is, again, that one very bad minigame, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Well, time to earn more money. I'm honestly not going to waste your time with the remaining assassination missions because they're all just kind of kill all the enemies here, and there's going to be one we unlock at the end of the game that gives way more money than the rest, but just know that is a good way to make some cash, and if you haven't upgraded your beam katana, again, now is definitely the time to do so, or you're going to have a hard time like I do because I actually didn't choose to upgrade my beam katana until basically the very end of the game. Our minigame this time around is the Scorpion Extermination, and it kinda sucks hard. You have to find the small scorpions and pick them up with a QuickTime event, which is fine, and each pickup gives you more money. But if you get stung, you better rush your ass back to the job, man, because you're going to be put on a time limit that can either be really lenient, giving you almost a minute, or it can be super strict, giving you literally 10 seconds, so if you don't have memory of child, it's straight up impossible. Yeah, it's not fun, and if you run out of time, it's a failure. On top of that, there's actually a special scorpion that just straight up insta-kills you, causing you to fail the job outright. I hate this side job, and I only ever play it one time. That's required to unlock the last assassination missions. Well, as the game told us, time to head back to Destroy Stadium.
You think you're bad, don't you?
We're back at the baseball stadium, but this time around, instead of going through the interior, we get straight to the court in another minigame style level where we just start running over people with our motorcycle. To be honest, it's actually pretty fun and a decent way to reuse a level. I could be critical if I really wanted to, but I actually enjoy this level for the most part, and the boss at the end is, in my opinion, pretty good. I will warn you, however, if you get knocked off, you're going to have to fight the enemies on foot for the rest of the level, and if that happens, well, it's going to take a lot longer, and you know what happens when you fight on foot. Now, before we get to the boss fight, I gotta ask you a question. Want some sugar?
Want a drink?
I'll pass.
Pop quiz. Why am I such an angry bitch? Seriously, no matter how many I kill, it's all the same. They're all going to pay. Yeah, with their fucking lives.
You're a bad girl.
You have no right to look at me like that. It's just a job. The daily grind.
You're no assassin. You're just a perverted killing maniac.
In essence, they're the same. Don't go on thinking you're better than me. You think you're hot shit. Who the fuck do you think you are? Come on!
Guys, I swear I can fix her. Anyways, so weird thing is, the enemies in this arena aren't technically people in gimp suits, but they're actually homunculi, for lack of a better term. Anyways, that's not important. So, Charlotte here is kind of a weird case where later on she becomes one of the most important characters in the series, but for now, she's just a late game boss fight, and honestly, possibly the hardest in the game, but one of the more enjoyable ones in my opinion. See, she has a crippling alcohol addiction, so she's going to drunkenly flail around, but when she focuses a bit more, she has some very precise and powerful strikes, and she's spec'd hard into strength. Her attacks hit hard, and she's got a lot of options later on in the fight, but what's interesting is her moves in Phase 3 where she'll light her baseball bat on fire, giving her powered up damage to all her attacks she had, as well as a new AoE ground slam that you need to dodge roll, instead of just sidestepping like you do for most other attacks, and it requires a bit more out of the player to stay on point. The music is also one of the more memorable tracks in the game. It's very bizarre, but fitting for this fight and the uncomfortable atmosphere around it. Then there's her deadliest attack where she's going to start crying, and if she has a hand on her bat, it's a trap and she'll instantly kill you if you try to attack her, so wait until she swears and then it's safe to go in and attack her again. However, if she has both hands on her face, then she's crying for real and is available to attack and injure. It's one of the few instant death attacks I'm okay with, because if you observe a bit carefully, you get all the answers you need, and this isn't like Shinobu's one where it can kind of just come out of nowhere and looks like the same as her other attacks. Overall, this fight is hard, but a fun enough time fitting for rank 2, and her death is one of the few the game plays disturbingly straight instead of being goofy or over the top levels of violent.
Maybe you forgot. I'm a bad girl. I won't lose. I will never lose.
I give up. You win.
Yes, I've won.
Well, that was disturbing. Only one more rank to go. Now that we're in the endgame, I'm just going to tell you this right now, you're probably going to want to get the final beam katana upgrades from Dr. Naomi. However, I didn't really get the final stuff because, I don't know, I just felt like trying something a bit different. I did get the upgraded beam katana though. Anyways, we need some cash, and it's No More Heroes 1, so you know the drill by now. And if for some reason or another you haven't grabbed Memory of a Child yet, I highly recommend you do so at this point, as for, well, basically after you turn in the money, the world's gonna basically change permanently until you beat the final boss. As for our final job, it's a case of bike jumping. Basically, you just need to get your speed up, make one turn, and jump at the end with good timing to earn a nice chunk of change. It's one of the fastest side jobs to do, and it's also one of the easiest ways to grind out any last bits of cash you may need for the endgame. Also, you can use your boost to make things even easier, but you need to be a little bit precise with your jump timing, and I'm kind of bad at it. Also, there's a lava cop ball here, so if you haven't gotten Memory of Child yet, you definitely should at this point. And speaking of cash, once you complete your bike jumping, you unlock the last assassination missions, one of which is a weird gimmick one where you have to just do it without getting hit and everyone has guns. It sucks. The other one is to kill these artificial humans, which are those, well, gimp suit looking dudes that are really weird. And you get a lot of money out of it, plus they have very low health, so this is another good way to earn some cash if you just want to fight stuff, instead of doing random mini games. Overall, not bad, and once you have the money, you can go pay off the amount ready to be ready for the final level, but I'm going to highly recommend you maybe make a backup save file, because once you initiate the final level, the world's going to pretty much permanently change from that point onwards, so, you know, in case you have anything left you want to do, now's the time to do it.
Why didn't I call this number in the first place? Hello?
Hello? May I ask who's calling?
This is the Assassins Association, right? Look, I gotta talk to you about...
Oh, dear. She's done it again, hasn't she?
Hey, are you listening?
Excuse me for asking, but are you by chance an assassin?
Whoa, don't tell the whole world.
Then you have been had, sir. You are not her first.
What? Run that by me again.
Listen to me. Do not get involved whatever you do.
Listen, lady, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Who are you anyway?
Another sorry kid. And for the record, I am Sylvia's mother.
Mother?
Yes, you heard me. And there's no such thing as an association, or whatever you think exists.
You're joking, right? Do you know how many people I've killed?
She is a professional con artist.
You mean a fraud? Are you telling me this was all just bullshit?
She set everything up. Would you mind telling me how far this all went?
I'm now second in rank.
So, just one more to go. Alrighty. Why not play along since you've come this far?
Are you serious? What's the point? This is all some make-believe charade.
But a good man finishes what he started. Fight to the end. Your most formidable opponent awaits in the castle. Now, off to the Garden of Madness.
So yeah, everything was bullshit and we've been had. At least until No More Heroes 2 retconned it so there was a real assassin association. But anyways, we head outside and our bike gets stolen by the Star Wars looking dude from Let's Shake's level, so I guess we should make our way over to the final level on foot. I could write some scripted thing or I could skip it, but I feel like this is kind of part of the game's experience, so I'll just give a few thoughts on the game here. No More Heroes 1 is kind of a mess. It's not a perfect game, it's got a lot of sloppy points in it, the level design feels all over the place, the story and writing can be kind of a mess. The gameplay is fun, but it can also be pretty clunky. But you know what? It's still a game I enjoy. It's not perfect, it's definitely got its flaws, but it's earnest, it's trying to do something different, and there's a lot of interesting stuff to be found here. I think Travis is an interesting character, maybe not necessarily the best developed in this game, but he's still enjoyable. The action is extremely violent, but it usually comes off as funny rather than anything else, so it's not one of those games where it's like, oh, it's trying to be super edgy. No, it knows how stupid everything is, and it's embracing it. On top of that, I think that it's kind of neat to have this little hub world to go around. It's got some fun little side jobs. Some of them can get monotonous, some of them can be kind of fun. And I don't know. I guess the best way I can describe this is one of the most Suda51 games that he's made. It's just, for lack of a better term, I guess you can consider it earnest. It's not trying to be something crazy or weird, because it's just doing that naturally. But overall, I think it's a fun game. I think it was a great addition to the Wii's library, giving it a major, notable M-rated title to play through. And yeah, I think overall it's good and probably worth playing if you have any real interest in this kind of game, or if you've seen anything like it and you're like, that seems like it might be fun. Anyways, when we get to the end, we get our bike back in time for the final level. With Memory of Child, it's not too bad to get there, but without it, oh boy, you're going to be walking for a while. Anyways, when you finally get to the end and you get your bike back, it's time for this final level, which is on the motorcycle. And it's kind of one of those motorcycle levels from Crash Bandicoot. You can either boost into enemies or to take care of them, or you can try knocking them into the crates. Sadly, there's no lightsabers on motorcycles. This isn't Jedi Academy or anything like that. It's overall kind of fun. It's not the perfect, but I mean, you know what? I don't hate it, and it does make for something interesting. I'm glad we actually get to use the bike for something other than just minigames or, yeah, that one level. You are actually taking damage if you get hit, by the way, so be mindful of your health. Try not to mess up or get hurt or anything. Now, the first half of this is just this bridge section. It's nothing too crazy or interesting. The more interesting stuff happens once you get to the second section, when you get into this tighter foresty area and you need to dodge trees to avoid taking serious damage. On top of that, the enemies are still going to be throwing some projectiles at you for now, but they're going to get wiped out pretty soon. Overall, I think it's fun, a little bit chaotic, and a little bit challenging. And there's actually one more bit of escalation to it, because after you jump enough trees, well, let's just say things have another drastic change. We actually now have to start dodging some giant lasers that are going to fire at us and can do a ton of damage if they hit you. And then, as you make a little bit more progress, you'll have to both dodge the lasers and jump over the trees. It's kind of a nice little difficulty progression. I don't know, I enjoy it. It's not a bad way to end the final level, I guess, and I can at least say that while this game's levels kind of drop off a cliff after Shinobu's, I do think at least the final level is good. Now, time for the jump. I had a friend who got stuck at this point for almost an hour and was about ready to rage quit the game, and I genuinely don't know how. But, yeah, surprise, the final level actually has another part to it. We're in the forest, and we'll get healed up, but we now have a Lost Woods situation on our hands here, while fighting the Star Wars reject enemies, and they go all in on the Empire Strike Back homages, because now we have to traverse the Now we have to traverse the foggy forest like it's the swamps of Dagobah, while the Spirit of Thunder Ryu gives you guidance on the correct paths. Overall, I'm happy to say that I actually do like the game's final level, and I'm glad that they at least had one more good level in there at the end. But once we reach the forest, or the end of the forest I should say, we see the Spirit of Thunder Ryu one last time before he fades out, leaving us with his final words of advice, telling us to follow the path of a true man and put a stop to what we consider evil.
Travis, can you hear me? It's Sylvia. I never thought you'd make it this far. But I am sorry. I cannot see you anymore. I want to fly to your side right now. I want to be in your arms. I want to be with you. I want to share my life with you, no matter the cost. Meeting you, I felt truly alive for the first time. I mean that. But feelings and reality are two different things. Life is not that simple yet. Now, be honest. Did you really think I would let you do me if you hit number 1? You really are an idiot, aren't you, Travis? Come back to reality. I mean, look at yourself. You are a dopey otaku assassin. The bottom of the barrel. No woman would be caught dead with you unless she was a desperate bitch. Where in the world could you find a woman who could fall in love with someone like you? Well, one is right here. It was fun, Travis. I love you. Now, don't forget to use the restroom. Trust your force and head for the Garden of Madness.
And bringing all the various Star Wars references to a head, here we are at our final boss fight against Darkstar, the walking over-the-top Darth Vader reference himself, even pulling out an "I am your father" line before creating a giant dragon lightsaber. And also Travis is forced to confront some suppressed childhood trauma, but I'm just going to let the rest of this cutscene play out for itself.
Jeez, you are full of it, aren't you? It's a good story, I'll give you that much.
This is just another story.
Even if you were my father, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters here is who's best.
Remember, son, engraved into your memory is the night when everything changed. I fell to my feet right before my son's eyes. Do you not remember this?
In my deepest memories, I hear someone calling. I remember. It was a hot summer day. There was someone standing behind my father and mother. That person killed my parents. The face, I can't make it out. Who are you?
Remember.
Who are you?
Try harder.
I think I can see it. Almost.
Do you recognize the face?
Now I remember everything.
Well done, son. She was the girl you loved.
still as gullible as ever, Travis. Think, why would he be your father?
I guess you're right. I don't have a father. At least not anymore. Didn't you?
Yes. And that's why you became an assassin. To kill me.
Now I get it. All those fights. It was for this. I lost everything that I ever cared about. That bitch took everything.
I can help you to get even.
She's a good con artist, that's for sure. She set up some killer fights.
So you and I finally meet. You should thank Sylvia.
Jean, there's just one thing I want to ask you. Who are you?
Me? You don't need to know. All of your trivial questions will be answered in the afterlife.
Answer me!
It's impossible.
Impossible? What do you mean?
It's too terrible. It alone would jack up the age rating of this game even further.
So what? Who cares?
What if the game gets delayed? You don't want this to become No More Heroes Forever, do you?
All right. I'll fast forward this so you can tell me.
Okay. I'll make it short and quick.
You are my half-brother. You know that manga called Miyuki? The Japanese one? Well, it's like that. Your father abandoned my mother to run off with your mother. It broke her heart beyond repair. She killed herself. Knowing I had nowhere to go, he took advantage of me. Ever since I can remember, he molested me. We lived in this rotten apartment, and I was his slave. Every day I cursed his soul. I swore that I would kill him one day. But cursing didn't change anything. That's when I decided to become a killer. With no money to pay for training, I paid with my body. But to you, I bet that son of a bitch looked like a hard-working family man. That was all an act. He didn't give two shits about cleaning up my life. So I decided to clean it up myself. That's why I do what I do. And I got what I wanted. Killing him in front of your very eyes.
That's my story.
Imagine that. You and I. Brother and sister.
Now you see what I've been through?
Maybe it had to be done. But vengeance begets vengeance.
You're right. Go ahead. Draw, brother.
All of your sorrows end today, Jean.
Our final boss fight is against Travis's half-sister Jean, and okay, I actually used to hate this final boss because it felt way too hard, but now that I'm a little bit better at video games, and also I've gotten a bit more used to No More Heroes 1's jank, I actually kinda like this fight. It's still hard, but it's a fight where it feels satisfying to execute once you figure it out. The big thing to note with Jean is that she's vulnerable when she's starting up her attacks as opposed to right after, because right after she'll be in dodge mode and you're not really going to hit her. This fight is split into 3 phases, but basically it just means that she's chaining her attacks together for longer, and she'll make the arena smaller as the battle goes on so you have less room to dodge. Jean actually has one of the smallest health bars of any boss in the game, pretty much like around Death Metal's level. But she's very dodgy, so you have to be precise with attacking and find the openings to hurt her. However, as the phases go on, she actually becomes more aggressive, so the chances to score some hits will increase. And it should be noted that Jean is a master martial artist, putting Travis's wrestling skills to shame, so don't really try grappling her, because if you stun her and you try to grab her, she'll just counter you and make you look like a jackass. Charge attacks are risky, but they will break through her guard, so keep that in mind, and if you do stun her, just go for it and press the attack. The last thing to note about this fight is no matter how good you are, the fight won't end even if you reduce her health to 0, because the fight has to finish with a clash, and it's a clash you can't win, so just do your best and everything should be okay. Shinobu's back for some reason.
Do it!
Right. Sorry, Jean. This hurts me too.
We're both in the same business after all. And I've had enough.
Time for you to rest, Jean.
Good night, Travis.
I hope your next dream is a more pleasant one. It's over. This is where it all ends. Right, Sylvia? It's finally over.
Can't a guy get some privacy? At least when he's taking a dump?
I'm afraid not. These fights don't work like that. It's time to die, Mr. First Rank.
You gotta be shitting me.
And with that, No More Heroes is done. A messy but fun game with some brutal combat, fun gameplay, and questionable level design, all wrapped up in a story that's bizarre to say the least, but hey, that's what makes it No More Heroes 1, and that's what makes it a Suda 51 game. That's all I've got for this video. If you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing to see more videos of varying quality, and I'll see you all next time.
It's finally over.
Can't a guy get some privacy? At least when he's taking a dump?
I'm afraid not. These fights don't work like that. It's time to die, Mr. First Rank.
You gotta be shitting me.
Will you hurry up with that? I'll be outside.
That was close. Thanks.
Ugh, what an idiot. You're a disgrace to yourself and all those you've killed.
When you've upgraded every weapon to maximum and killed the final boss, you'll get one last fight to truly round out the game, and it's against Henry, or as Travis puts it, Sir Henry Motherfucker. Henry is the hardest boss in the game, bar maybe Bad Girl or Jean if you have trouble with those fights, but regardless, pound for pound I'd say he's the hardest, and he's definitely the longest fight in the game, having some crazy combos and the most health of any opponent in the game. In fact, he has over double the health of any other boss fight. Quite a few unblockable attacks as well, a projectile attack, and an insta-kill, which, while well telegraphed, and it's actually massive telegraph that's completely fair, it's always terrifying when he goes for it because there's the feeling of, but what if I fuck it up? Actually, you know what? Here's what the insta-kill looks like.
It's time for you to sleep.
Henry is the final test of skills designed for those who are diligent, pushing No More Heroes 1's somewhat clunky combat, at least compared to 2 and 3, to its absolute limit, but I think it works well as there's plenty of openings available to offset his massive health bar, and honestly, you can make your own openings by baiting out his counters and comboing attacks from there. And yeah, while he has a lot of health, there's plenty of opportunity to cut his health down to size, and it's all while fighting in the parking lot where this game began. Overall, I think it makes for a fantastic true final boss, and I would say Henry's probably the best fight in the game. And to cap it all off, it's followed by a hilariously bizarre and meta ending to this very bizarre game. Which is the perfect fit if I'm being realistic here.
But Travis, my brother, we're similar in many ways.
You're right. Suddenly you being my brother doesn't sound so awkward.
Let me ask you, how do you plan to put an end to all of this?
Wait a sec. You want me to tie up all these loose ends? I don't think so.
You're the protagonist. I'm just a cool, handsome foil who happens to be your twin brother. Hate to say it, but it's your job.
I want to bail, but where the hell's the exit?
Oh.
There's no way out, is there? No getting out, right, bro?
That's right. All we can do is keep running.
Then let's find that exit they call paradise. Let's go!
You like this painting, don't you? Let's go, Jean. I know. Too bad there won't be a sequel.
So that was a lie?